Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 161 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast, discussing how a buyer's market is affecting our land business. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our featured Discord members. Today's question is from Lucas. Lucas asked, I'm considering hiring a VA service that uses GPS coordinates to scrub landlocked properties. Is this a good idea?
Using GPS. I don't think it's necessarily going to be. I got a little thrown off, Dan, about the GPS thing. I think hiring someone to scrub out landlocked properties, if you're trying to
I
be
think
as
I meant
efficient as,
latitude and longitude.
yeah, either way, it's going to be hard to be exact with those coordinates if they're not doing it by hand and actually pulling everything up. I don't like that way. If you have someone by hand and you're trying to be as efficient as possible with your mail, I don't think that's a bad idea. Scrubbing out literally by hand, putting in every APN and scrubbing out. But like I said, that being said, I wouldn't hire someone to do it with some kind of system and then you end up getting deals scrubbed out. Accidentally, you have properties with good road frontage, whatever it is. I'm not a huge fan of that strategy. I do understand it, Dan, if you have limited upfront capital and you are trying to be as efficient as absolutely possible.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a service out there that does it, is why he prompted this question.
Mhm.
And I think the main thing is what they do. They use GPS coordinates and then they have some sort of software where they can tell if it's near a road access or not. I don't know how much manual work goes into it. I have not tested that service out. I do know what he's talking about, but from my understanding, like you just have to make sure, because a lot of properties appear landlocked to a naked eye, Ron, or that GPS or that latitude longitude coordinate doesn't take account that dirt road that
Mm.
pulls you back there. Because I was looking through our for sale properties when he said that, and I was like just curious, and it was about 50% of our for sale properties right now, Ron, appear to like they're not on a main road. They're off
Yep.
or they have a small sliver at the front. And if that latitude longitude puts a dot in the middle of that property, it's going to be way off, or it just doesn't show any access on a map. So that's the one concern, because it was about 50%. And if you're starting out, like Ron said, maybe that's a good idea to keep your costs down. But in general, you could lose a lot of property. So make sure they send you the list that they scrubbed out as well, so you can kind of check them. That's what
Mhm.
I would do personally. Other than that, let's get into the show. Today's topic: how a buyer's market is affecting our business. And Ron, let's first talk about the last 6 months and just the current transition we're seeing, and define a buyer's market along that route.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably going back 6, 9 months ago, like it's been trending towards not necessarily a buyer's market in every market, but in comparison to where we were 12, 18 months ago, like this is a buyer's market. And what we mean when we're saying buyer's market are buyers have more power now. Cash buyers, especially, like they have a lot of power now because the power of cash, the power of a fast close, the difficulty of getting loans, all those things are creating what's called a buyer's market. Essentially, when I say buyer's or seller's market, who has the power? I don't think really either one has the upper hand right now, Daniel. But like I said, relative to where we were 12, 18 months ago, this is a buyer's market without a doubt.
Yeah, and what Ron's referring to 12, 18 months ago, that was like the COVID and post-COVID era, where there's just anything you put on the market's just getting eaten up, and it was just extremely, extremely seller friendly, which means there are a lot more buyers out there and not a lot of sellers really. So the demand for buying goes up, which means they're competing against each other more, which means the seller has the upper hand historically, is what that means. So yeah, really good explanation, Ron. And I think it's important to let's talk about how a buyer's market affects buying and selling land. Like the when the tide changes like it is in a transition, how's that even affect us? So what we do, we buy and sell land, we flip land. We buy it under market value using direct mail. We put it up on the market for sale for near market value on the MLS because we buy it in our own name. You want to talk about that, Ron? How the buyer's market affects actually buying and selling land, flipping land?
Yeah, for sure. And to like the big thing, guys, to remember is no market or there's always exceptions to what we're saying in terms of buyers sellers market. There are always some cold markets. There's always some really hot markets, no matter how much of a recession we're in. But that being said, as far as buying and selling land, what we do, how it's affecting, like you can be stricter when you're buying properties. You need to be stricter when you're buying properties, not only on the type of land you're buying, but the price. Like you cannot just be giving people whatever money they want and making deals happen. You're going to not necessarily end up losing money like that, but it's going to be more difficult to sell your ROI. And a lot of times the sellers are going to say yes to your original offer or something really close and they want to meet in the middle. That's what I see a lot of people doing, Dan, is just negotiating to the seller's number because they want their first deal. They want to, whatever it is. And they're going to their number. Sellers not necessarily want to negotiate, but if I offer you 10,000, they say fit 20,000, 15,000. There's somewhere in between that seller is going to sell for. So keeping that's really important right now. And I just think it's a little more difficult to sell land, and it's a little easier to acquire, and you need to be a little more strict when you acquire.
And if it's more difficult to sell land, Ron, which means that we have more power, it's more difficult for that landowner to sell their land, period, which means going in with cash, we have more power. And that's like Ron said, when you guys are start negotiations and you read the comments of Pat Live or whatever you guys are using, and you see they want 20,000 and you offer 12,000, don't just immediately go to that number. You have more power than you think. This business model is sustainable for a reason because we're giving people way out of their cat or of their land when they don't have any other way out. They don't want to list it on the market or it's going to take too long. They don't know how much to list it. There's not a lot of realtors around. And it's just harder and harder to sell as these markets come. So you have to keep that in mind. You have more power with cash these days than you did 12 months ago. So be aggressive with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, and, yeah, it's just I prefer these markets at the end of the day. I think it's easier. I like acquiring land because we can be strict with our prices, everything like that, and then we always figure out a way to sell our land. This is the market, like, right now, whatever it is now, and I think what it'll be the next 6 to 12 months, or what I think the ideal, market is, and another thing markets like this do is it can weed people out of land investing. There's people who send 500 mailers and then say like, "Oh, this isn't for me. I didn't get a deal." This market is less competitive in my mind in terms of land investing in general. I think it's a lot of people talk about it being saturated, diluted, whatever it is. It's so far from that. I think there's just so much opportunity right now to get good deals. Too, there's so many deals out there. There's so many interested sellers right now that were not interested sellers 12 months when the government was handing out money.
Yeah. And I feel like in our community, I've seen more deals this last 3, 4 weeks than I've ever seen by a good margin. It just seems like there's a lot of deals, a lot of people selling whatever it is. You hear layoffs, people are getting tight with money, whatever the situation is. They're like people need money, and that's why during these buyers markets, during these downturns, your cash is more powerful and you can get lock up better and more deals. The question is, how are we going to sell those deals, right? So during a buyer's market or a downturn like this, that everyone thinks is coming up, how are you going to sell the deals during those time? And that's where it gets kind of tricky. Either way, if you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market, you're going to be a little lopsided on one side. Right now, like Ron's saying, I think it is pretty balanced. I don't think one side has more of a leg than the other, to be honest. I feel like it's a pretty balanced market with what we're seeing right now. We're still selling properties, we're still buying a lot of properties. But when the market really, really, really shifts like it did 12 months ago, when it was a seller's market, we were extremely aggressive on the acquisition side and negotiations. You got to be a little more timid now. And then even when the buyer's market even hits harder, Ron, you got to be even a little more timid on what you're buying. So I think either side there are pivots that need to be made, Ron.
Yeah, I think so without a doubt. And I think just like episodes like this, I think just understanding the market, like this business can be done whatever market. Hopefully this helps you understand like how to take action steps on what to do. If you're accepting and doing, like Daniel said, if you're doing deals like you were 12, 18 months ago, you're going to get burned on a couple. That's just the fact because bad land is not selling like it would 12, 18 months ago. But if you get good properties in a decent or above decent area, it is going to sell if you post it at the right price. We still every single week have properties that are posted and sell the same day or next day. But it's about what you posted for and the quality of the land as well as the area, obviously.
Yeah, no, the market's still good. Like selling a property still feels good. We're getting good leads. It's not there yet. I'm curious to see where these next 12 months go. But right now, we're like land is flying off. Especially this last 2 weeks around. It really seemed like as these summer months approach, I was like, oh wow, things are selling really, really, really fast again. But I want to get into so Ron, I want to talk about buying land in a buyer's market a little bit more, and then we'll get into selling land
Yep.
specifically in a buyer's market. And we talked a little bit about negotiations, Ron, but like Ron just said, buying land in a buyer's market you he said that bad land is not selling, right? So you want to really make sure you're getting A quality land, B plus quality land. You don't want any defects. You don't want it to be wet. You don't want the access to be very off or odd or the shape. Like you want to buy good land in these markets, and that's where like that's the number one place to start. Good land will sell in almost any market at the right price. It's when
Mm.
you start getting you start getting defected land, Ron, and you start pushing the price and you're listing your defective land for 95% of what it's worth and you bought it for 50%, that's when you start to get burned and where you're not providing that much value. You got to buy good land and you got to buy it at the right price. And then also on the other hand, like Ron said with negotiating, when those times do come up and you have wiggle room to get down or you can lower like in buyers markets and in recessions, you'll be able to lower your offer price from maybe 45% to 32% or something because it's a recession. Your cash is more valuable. What do you do when your cash is more valuable? You can pay less.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you said that well. Like you got to if you get properties with defects on it, I'm not saying buy if you get interested sellers with defects on it, you need to negotiate price down. Like you're if you're getting a C.
Or just don't buy it.
Yeah, if you're getting C land, C minus land, you need to have an A price, like where a price where like there's no way this deal does not make sense. You need to be so, so cheap when you get land back that comes defected. And the crazy, not the crazy thing is, but the sellers are going to say yes when you try to negotiate with them. But if you don't even go back and try to shoot your shot and you just buy the land just because whatever, it was your purchase agreement offer, whatever it is, but that land is wet or that land, whatever it is, something's wrong with it. You're going to struggle to make money in this business.
It's what we always say, Ron, price, property, and location, right? Is your price good? Oh, your price is an A, your property's an A, and your location's an A. You're gonna in any market buy those. But as soon
Yep.
as your price maybe C, land B minus, C plus, and the location, and by location, I really mean the area, not the specific location, but I mean that surrounding area. What like that, when I say location, I more mean like what is the heat of that market? Are
The market,
properties
yeah.
at the right price selling? I mean more mean the market in that location than the actual location. But yeah, absolutely. Those are the three things we look at. And in any market, if you have those three down, those are the core. That's what you want to always come back to, Ron. That's buying. Let's talk about selling, Ron. Selling land in a buyer's market. And you mentioned something the other day. You texted me and you said realtors are getting more aggressive, putting more work in per posting. They're not just, they're not swamped anymore, it doesn't seem like. And they're just, I don't want to say desperate yet, but they're working harder for you.
Yep.
And that's a
There
hint. That's a
and
sign.
yeah, I noticed it because we had some turnover on our sales position who was doing that, so, I'm temporarily doing that, and it was I don't know, like, it didn't take me long to realize what was happening as far as it like, it was multiple realtors, and I know how realtors usually are, I know how these I know how they were, and it just did not feel the same the way they're working with me. Doing a great job, I love it, but the
Selling our
realtor
properties.
market, you have to work harder as a realtor right now to make money because there are not as many deals happening right now. There's not as many people buying stuff, and a lot of people aren't really selling. Like that's the thing right now with the market that's so weird. Is not lot of people want to sell, whether it's house, land, whatever it is, sell right now when the prices are a little down. And not a lot of people want to buy right now when interest rates are 8% and their cash is so valuable. So it's like a market where you're going to be able, you want your realtors to be on the spot right now because they need to be for themselves because it is competitive right now. Not just land, not just houses, everything with realtors. Like if there's 50% less deals, that means 50% less money is being made by realtors as a whole, so the bottom tier are going to get weeded out.
So we talked about realtors and how they're kind of giving signs of being a buyer's market right now, Ron. Let's actually talk about the pricing side of it. What are we seeing on the pricing side as a transitioning market right now? How are we pricing our land for sale?
Yeah, one thing like that like I always say, Dan, is you don't wanna compete too much with the market. Like, you wanna undercut the market as much as possible when you're selling properties. We actually had 2 this week perfect examples. And I think we were pushing the market. We were pushing the market, not think we were. One was posted for 180, one was posted for 200. The 180 we dropped to 142, I want to say, and the 200 we dropped to 180. We're under contract on both of those cash offers, 135 and 175. And it just comes down to price a lot of times. Like I knew our marketing was good. We did have decent realtors, solid realtors on both of these. And they got the job done at the end of the day. They got us good cash offers that are going to close fast. We were pushing the envelope a little bit with the price. I thought our land was good. And the thing that was difficult about these, Dan, was the inventory was so low in the area. That's why I tried to push the price, and nothing was competing with us. But that being
Yeah.
said, like you don't want to overprice right now. It's not easy. You're not going to sell things if you overprice. Period.
Yeah, and we're kind of testing that area too because we've done quite a few deals in that specific area. But yeah, when like there's multiple that come to mind right now, Ron, like multiple examples when I think of dropping the price and just getting blown up.
Yep.
Mike, when Graham changed his price all of a sudden, that got a cash offer for six figures. Mike got a bunch of cash or has offers coming in on that and tons of
Yep.
saves. So it's like it's just a sign that maybe the appreciation for land that was happening, 6 to 12 months ago isn't the same, and you can't price it at 100% anymore or whatever it is, but it's a sign that there's buyers there when the price is right, and that's what's most
Yep.
important to me. There's still guys, this is market by market. There are still areas that are hot. There are still areas that are very cold that I would never go near. So we're just kind of bunching this up as one run, and I wanted to point that out before going anywhere else. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's as an example, around in a seller's market where it's very hot, it's more important to be aggressive on the acquisition side and vice versa. In a buyer's market, you want to be more aggressive on the sales side and understand your cash works harder for you on the front end. And I think that scenario kind of sums up this whole episode, Ron.
Yeah, without a doubt. There are buyers out there, they're waiting to see that price where they want it to be, and then they're gonna shoot you under, and that's what happened on both of those, and that's what the realtor told me. He's like, "There's buyers out there, there's nothing you're competing with, but they also understand the market, and you can't just post it for whatever." Yeah, I think this is hopefully actionable steps for a lot of people, like, "Okay, we gotta do this, gotta be more aggressive on the price up front. We gotta buy land a little cheaper, sell it a little cheaper."
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.